Next up tonight with the launch of his new book, it's Marty Baker. Born in Liverpool, Marty's lived in Newcastle for almost 30 years. He loves genuine people, good writing and great food, which is why he keeps coming back to the salon month after month. Probably. Written with his American best friend Fran Houston and published by Norland Publishing, Marty's book, High Tide, Low Tide, The Caring Friend's Guide to Bipolar Disorder, informs and inspires others who, like him, want to help and support a friend living with mental illness. Please give him a big hand, Marty Baker.
Thanks, everyone. It's about the fourth or fifth time I've been here. And when I started coming here, our book was obviously being written, but we had no publisher in sight or anything, so I'm proud to announce that as of a few weeks ago, the book was published. It is out there, it is available on Amazon and all good places like that. To fit in with the theme, discovery and whatever it was, education, I thought I'd read the preface from the book, which sets the scene for how it was written. One poem of France, and then just a little bit from chapter 10 of French. Writing has always been an important part of my life. I remember the teacher who encouraged me by providing a notebook for my extracurricular stories. I remember being snubbed by my classmates for asking if I could submit a poem in place of the expected essay. Our teacher thought it was such a great idea that he set poetry for the entire class. I remember volunteering as an assistant editor on the school magazine because I fancied the teacher. I remember the yellowing copy of Ezra Pound's poetry that I borrowed from the school library and neglected to return. I wrote poetry through sixth form and through university, later essays, articles and short stories. I've kept a personal diary for over 40 years now. A keen science student, I studied pharmacy at the University of Bradford and graduated in 1983 and took up a post-grad position in the Department of Neurology at King's College Hospital Medical School in London. In 1987, I moved north to here to work in the Biomed Sciences Laboratory at the RBI. I met my wife, Pam, in the same year. I later retrained in business computing and I've worked in IT services industry ever since. I met my now best friend Fran Houston online in May 2011. Fran lives with bipolar disorder, chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. And we joke that when she discovered I was a pharmacy graduate with 3 years research experience in neuroscience, she thought all her worries were over. Here at last was someone to sort her life out for her. And in fact, little that I'd learned in the lecture theatre or the laboratory prepared me to help someone living with chronic, debilitating illness. Education is extremely important. I've completed a number of courses and workshops since I met Fran that helped me support her more effectively. But ultimately, caring is not about how much you know. It's about who you are and what you do. This book was conceived in October 2012. On a phone call with Fran, I mentioned that I felt inspired to do something creative. Without hesitation, she suggested I could write a book about befriending someone who lives with illness. The idea made a great deal of sense. Despite living 3,000 miles apart, we'd already forged a relationship that was strong, caring, and mutually rewarding. I saw immediately that my experience could be of value to others, but if the suggestion was inspired, it was also scary. My first thought was that I'd never looked on her as someone living with illness. I saw her as my friend. But that's the point, Marty, she said. It's how you are with me. People don't usually treat me that way once they know I have illness. It's a powerful thing. It's helped me see that I'm not just my illnesses. I have value and gifts to give. In the weeks that followed, we discussed possible approaches, formats, and the likely audience for such a book. I researched similar titles, made notes, sketched outlines. But the further I pursued the idea, the more it seemed to elude me. I could see the book only as an autobiographical account of our friendship, and although that could be a tale worth telling, it wasn't what Fran had envisaged. I began to lose heart. Our conversations turned to other topics, and the idea of the book lapsed. Then one night in late November, Fran telephoned me. It was 4 o'clock in the morning here in the UK. She was very excited. She'd been to dinner with someone who wanted advice on how to support a friend diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Fran offered suggestions from her own experience and mentioned she knew someone in England who was writing a book on that very subject. Her friend thought it was a great idea and wanted to know when the book would be published. My heart sank. Too sleepy to be anything but honest, I told Fran what I'd come to realise but had not until that moment shared with her. Our book was never going to happen. She didn't press me for details or explanations. She said good night and let me get back to sleep. I went to work the next day as usual and avoided thinking about our conversation until I was walking to catch the train home. It was a shame nothing was going to come of Fran's idea. My thoughts turned to a book on depression that I'd recently finished reading. Written by a clinical psychologist, it had an easy style and was illustrated with snippets of conversation. It was nothing like the book Fran and I had talked about, but could a similar approach work for us? Something clicked. I messaged Fran from the train. Thank you for mentioning our book to your friend last night, for telling me about her reaction to the idea, and for the response that it stirred in me. It was the jolt I needed. Just now, in the very act of repeating to myself how our book will never come into being, I caught a glimpse of how it might. I want to rededicate myself to the project. I want to start making notes, drafting ideas. I want to write. It was a breakthrough moment, and one utterly in keeping with the central message of this book. No matter what happens or what you're struggling with, be that some practical or creative project, your relationship with others, your own health, or that of a loved one, the important thing is to set aside preconceived notions of how things should be, or whether you're up to the task. Instead, be honest with yourself about what's happening. Acknowledge your limitations, but refuse to be bound by them. Trust in your ability to grow to meet the challenge. Recognize joyfully the potential of each moment. Be who you are, do what you can, and embrace the journey. I shall read next one of 3 poems that are dotted through the book. This is by Fran rather than by myself. The poem is called A Wild Hare, and it was written during a period when she was pretty manic at the time. It's brilliant. We are all creators and creation and creative. We are all students and teachers. We are all rich and poor. We are all leaders and followers. We are all homeless and homeful. We are all ill and well. We are all friend and family. We all have the power to give and love. We all came in naked, babies. We all leave naked. We came with nothing, we leave with nothing. We are no better and no worse than each other. Never ever judge no one. Be and give, and then do from that place. Enemies or friends, always, in all ways. They teach too. There are no comparisons, no favourites, only lessons. But learn well, deep well. Simply love everything. Be kind, be open, be wild, free, real. The long and short of it, spirit. In my humble opinion, I'm just Franny with a wild hair. and the final chapter of the book. Each of the chapters opens with a short sort of question and answer. The question that I'm seeking to answer here is, why do you do it? People are sometimes surprised how much time Fran and I spend together and the degree of support I provide. One friend commented, realistically, who's got the time and energy to unfalteringly provide that level of care and dedication to someone outside your immediate family? It's a valid question, but it misses the point a little. Not everyone with mental illness wants or needs the kind of caregiving relationship that works for us. But what they almost certainly do want and need are friends they can rely on. Why is that so important? We all need support and companionship, but people living with mental illness often find friends in short supply. Changes in mood, energy, and behaviour can strain relationships and leave people isolated precisely when they need help most. Be the friend who doesn't walk away when things get tough. It's not always easy for us either, but what began as a private joke between us captures the essence of commitment. You're stuck with me now, Franny. I hope you realise that. Yeah, like gum on my shoe. Someone wrote to us recently, your journey as friends reminds us that mental illness doesn't change what friendship is all about, being there for those we love. That meant a lot because the reciprocal nature of our relationship isn't always recognised. Fran is there for me as much as I'm there for her. She's neither a drain on me nor a burden, although even she doubts this on occasion. She said to me once, I don't get it. Why are you still here? I told her, no matter what is going on, whether she's having a good day or a bad day, whether I'm having a good day or a bad day, I never don't want to be here. I'm a better person for knowing Fran. I have a greater understanding of my strengths, values, weaknesses, and vulnerabilities than ever before. I've learned more about mental and invisible illness, suicidal thinking, stigma, determination, courage, and responsibility since we became friends than in the 50 years before that. I've explored meditation, nonviolent communication, mindfulness, and other techniques that benefit my life enormously. I've greatly expanded my circle of friends, met people who feel safe sharing their stories in response to mine, and learned how it feels to offer my skills and experience in the service of others. I've grown and continue to grow as a friend and as a man. But the most important thing I've gained is our friendship itself. Why do I do it? Because Fran is my best friend, and that's what best friends do.